My name is Armagan Sabetian. I'm an associate professor from Auckland University of Technology. I'm here in the Solomon Islands conducting research funded by the Coastal People Southern Skies Centre of Research Excellence. My background and research interest is in coral reef fisheries, specifically Pacific Island coral reef fisheries, and hence why I'm here. With my fellow PI, Professor Richard Walter from University of Otago, we are conducting a project called Connecting Coastal Communities. Now this project has two parts to it. It's got a social science part, which Professor Walter is leading, and it's got a marine science part, which I am leading. I've got a fantastic team of 3 research associates and 2 very dedicated graduate students who will help me conduct this research. As part of my project, we are trying to investigate coral reef cover dynamics from the air using drone footage, but we also want to see what's going on under the water, and we are conducting that using stereo video to investigate foraging behavior of coral reef fishes. I've got a long-term relationship with Vavanga village on Kolombangara Island. Kolombangara as a location is very unique and provides us a great opportunity to study a reef system that's impacted by turbidity. Now the main reason for that is that this island, which is an extinct volcano covered by a montane rainforest, is feeding the reefs through over 80 freshwater rivers. Now these rivers obviously bring with them terrestrial sources of input and nutrients. Now unfortunately, because of logging since the 1980s, this input has been accelerated. So essentially our overall aim is to understand and study this anthropogenic input into the reef system by comparing parts of the reef that are highly turbid with other parts of the reef that are unaffected and remain relatively pristine. The engagement of local community for us is of paramount importance. We are here with the full support of the community and in fact the chief of this village. He is at the moment hosting us during this trip. The input and the relevance and the importance of Indigenous ecological knowledge is critical to aspects of our research. We've got several Indigenous local guides who are experts and advise us on a range of topics from fish species ID, fish behavior, coral reef dynamics, climatic conditions, and so on.
I'm Julian Lilkendey. I'm a marine fish ecologist based in Bremen, Germany. I am interested in fish and how they are adapted to extreme, challenging marine environments. For example, I spent a year in Senegal studying the reproductive ecology of clupioid fishes in an inverse hypersaline estuarine system. I also spent quite some time in Mauritius studying the growth of fish at submarine groundwater springs. I am in Vavanga village, Kolombangara Island, western province of Solomon Islands. Here we have a unique system at our hands. Right at the river's mouth we find a natural turbid coral reef. However, due to logging and a lot of sediment input into the waters, what we also find is an anthropogenic turbid coral reef. Now, as we move further from the river's mouth, we do find stretches of still almost pristine coral reef. Here we will have a look at the foraging dynamics of coral reef fish. More precisely, we will have a look at the energy they are investing foraging or feeding on the reef matrix. Now, what will we be doing? We will set up a set of 2 GoPro cameras which will be calibrated through a computer program. This will allow us to identify X, Y, and Z coordinate in a 3-dimensional space. Essentially we can measure fish lengths and distances underwater. But even more, the program will allow us to track individual fish, tracking their X, Y, and Z coordinates in a 3-dimensional space in the ocean. With this information we can deduce their velocity, their acceleration, and the energy they invested into foraging. We will compare these matrices against, on a pristine coral reef, against the turbid coral reef we find right at the mouth of the river in front of the research station. Currently, I'm a research associate with the Auckland University of Technology. I'm also the supervisor of Emily Jupp. I'm here to make sure that we have a proper sampling in place, that we go to the right place at the right time to actually take videos of fish. I'm here to make sure that our camera system is properly set up and calibrated. And I'm here to make sure that we actually identify the correct species we want to have a deeper look at. Now, our indigenous guide, Woody, is actually helping us out with that, which gives me some spare time to actually think about the next research project we can conduct here.
My name is Emily Jupp and I'm currently a full-time marine science master's student at Auckland University of Technology in my thesis year. I'm also employed at Auckland Whale and Dolphin Safari as a marine scientist. My research interests primarily lay with sharks and their ecology and distribution, so you're probably wondering why I'm in the tropics studying herbivorous reef fish. But I've built a strong relationship with my supervisor, Dr. Armagan Sabetian, over the years, so when he offered me this opportunity to come here to the Solomon Islands with him, it was a no-brainer. The skills I'm learning now, even so early on in the project, are essential. What it means to undertake fieldwork and how to weave modern science with Indigenous and local community knowledge. The involvement of traditional ecological knowledge has been crucial in this research project, and I hope that continues through into my thesis. My role in the project is quite simply to be the student. So that means early mornings getting ready for fieldwork and late nights downloading all that data onto hard drives. I've really appreciated the space that my supervisors have made for me to contribute fully to this project, to the point where some of the things that we are undertaking in the field have been entirely my own ideas and contributions. We just went out on our first semi-successful in-field expedition and put the 3 racks out. Conditions were great. We're going to leave them and then we're going to go back, pick them up, and hopefully they're actually going to be usable. Trying to figure out our plan of attack. Things change day to day here as they do in the field. One day you think you're going to be going out doing one thing and then something happens and it completely changes. So that's why we have this really messy whiteboard here to sort of help keep us in line, and I'm just making some adjustments over the next few days because we're sort of coming to the end of our trip, so we really need to start wrapping it up. Trying my first calibration with the data we've collected just to make sure that I'm actually doing it right when I'm under the water, so I can make some adjustments now, so when I go back under the water I'm doing it right. Sitting in the dark, just downloading footage off the GoPros, you know, living the dream right now. Ooh, shark! I'm just checking out the videos that we've taken over the past few weeks just to make sure that we're actually getting fish in our footage. We're trying to identify down the species level because I'm not very good at that yet. We've got Woody over here who is expert at IDing reef fish, so he's helping me out. We're doing coconuts! Spinning coconuts!
Hi, I'm Grace Martin and I'm a marine science master's student at Auckland University of Technology, and I've just started my thesis year. My interest in tropical marine ecosystems was sparked back in 2019 when I got to visit the Solomon Islands with my co-supervisor Armagan Sabetian for one of his undergrad papers. During that trip, I got to visit some of the most pristine coral reef ecosystems and had the chance to conduct a small observational study on the behaviour of anemone fish on the reef flat. During my undergrad study, I also developed interest in geographic information systems, where I met my lead supervisor, Graham Hinchliffe. I'd really hoped that I would be able to somehow mesh my love for marine science with GIS in my thesis. So when the opportunity arose to come back to the Solomons to be a part of this project, I couldn't say no. Reef flat habitats on fringing coral reefs are highly productive areas and support a very diverse range of marine organisms. However, their substrate zonation is not well understood. For this thesis project, we are aiming to map the north and south reef flat substrate using unmanned aerial vehicle remote sensing techniques and underwater video footage. While we were in the Solomon Islands, I was in the field nearly every day helping with data collection. This largely involved me being in the water conducting transects up and down the reef flat, while Graham took charge of the drone flying. From this research, I'm hoping that we will be able to create an effective workflow that can be easily repeated in the future, both in the Solomon Islands and across other reef systems. Creating an accurate map of the reef flat substrate will help us to further understand the role of fringing reefs in highly productive areas. This baseline map will also be incredibly beneficial for monitoring reef health, as it will allow for future comparisons. It has been the most amazing trip, and I am so thankful that I've been able to be a part of this research project.